Andrew, here we have the most important case brought in the history of the state of Georgia. I would guess probably maybe since after the Civil War, but no, probably even let's just say the most important case in Georgia history. I think that's pretty safe to say. And yet the lack of judgment shown here, just absolutely stunning. And I'm curious what your thought is. The odor of mendacity remains. I'm curious, do you agree with that, one? And two, if that is the case, how does she move forward effectively as the prosecutor of this case?
So I think the last question is the key, what to do now. I think that there's no question that there's no prejudice to the defendants. The judge goes out of his way to say this has nothing to do. And that's your point, Joe, which is this has nothing to do with it. And that's what makes this so absolutely infuriating, because the judge, I think, is clearly saying, I'm not buying for 1 minute, or as I would say, 1 New York minute, the testimony that was given.
So, hey, and Andrew, is saying, could I ask you to clarify for anybody that's watching this? Could you? So we're saying, I think correctly, that this lack of judgment, these terrible mistakes made by the DA, does not impact defendants. Give some examples of what are some of the things that would have required her disqualification.
Sure. For instance, if she were having a relationship with a witness in the case, if she were having a relationship with the defense counsel on a case, those are things that would actually deal with the evidence. And the judge goes out of his way to say there's nothing about it, even if there were some financial gain to her. The idea that she's prolonging this case, and the judge goes out of his way to say prolonging, the state has been trying to get to trial. So he goes out of his way to say the defendants are not prejudiced in just one iota about this. But I think the key here is how to go forward, because clearly Wade is off. But I think that this is such a huge body blow, almost a fatal blow to Fani Willis. I think the way forward is she has to voluntarily recuse herself. I don't know that she has it in her, but I think she has to say, I'm going to appoint a chief assistant who's going to oversee this case. She clearly has no credibility with this judge, and these issues are going to be taken up. The judge invites these issues to be taken up by all sorts of other Georgia regulators, including the Georgia Assembly, the Fulton County Board of Commissioners, the State Ethics Commission. I mean, he lists that. So I think the best thing, if your first interest is the sanctity of this case, which I agree with you, Joe, this is the most important case in Georgia. And of the 4 Trump cases, this may be the most important because it's one that will last regardless of whether Donald Trump wins the presidency or not. If your first interest is this case, I think she needs to remove herself voluntarily and just say someone else is going to oversee this case in Georgia so that whatever happens to her in terms of ethics, it doesn't taint this case.